So, we are going to talk about a very simple yet fancy word that a lot of beginning chemistry students are going to dread about. And now, it's kind of interesting that it's nothing mathematical, but purely psychological, mental. All right? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Let me give you some examples to begin. Okay? Now, I think you have seen something like this, right? Like alongside the road, you have seen something like this, right? What does it mean? What? The fastest you can go, right? Are you learning how to drive yet? No? All right. So get ready. Now, so it says 30, well, it doesn't show the unit, but we all know the unit, it's miles per hour, right? So now, miles per 1 hour, right? Now I'm going to ask you a couple questions. And my gut tells me that it will take you less than a second to answer my questions. All right? Let's see if my gut is correct. If you drive for 2 hours, how many miles? See, less than a second, 60 miles driven, right? If you drive for a total of 150 miles, how many hours? 5. Right now. So now this is where I want to develop my entry point to show you how this whole thing is purely psychological, nothing directly mathematical, because you got the math part right. Think about this. When I said 2 hours, you immediately gave me the answer 60 miles, right? You did not question, wait, hold on, Mr. Chan. When you say 2 hours, am I supposed to multiply the 30 by 2 or divide the 2 by 30 or 30 divided by 2? No, you did not ask that question at all. You know 60 is the correct answer. When I give you 150 miles driven, you know it's 5 hours. You did not ask the question of, so do I do 150 times 30? Or do I do 30 divided by 150 or 150 divided by 30? No, you did not ask those questions explicitly. Do you know why you didn't ask those questions? You know the concept. And now let me make this concept very explicit. And that is, this is a ratio. So number one, yes, you know the concept. And two, you know what number makes sense. If I say you drive for 2 hours, you know the only acceptable, reasonable answer is 60. Nothing fancy, right? When I say 150 miles, you know the only reasonable answer is 5. Because your brain is so well adapted, very comfortable, very proficient in running this type of simple calculation. Because you know what a ratio is, and that is, if you know one, you must know the other, and vice versa. Okay? Now, the overall concepts that we are going to go over today, it's nothing more complicated than this kind of thought process. This is like a unit. Like when I say unit, I'm not saying like kilogram is a unit. No, I'm saying like the unit price. Like when you go shop for apples, you ask like, oh, so how do you sell the apples? Is it by pound or by pieces? We say, oh, it's $2.50 per pound. You'd be like, oh, okay. So when you get your apples, you would put on a scale and say, oh, I bought 4 pounds of apples. So you know, $2.50 per pound, you pay 10 bucks. Now, so the next thing that I want to talk about to transition to chemistry is that on your periodic table, which I do have one in front of you, I think. Now, let's go ahead and look at one very common compound that has an atomic number of 6, which we call carbon. And there's a number down below carbon. It's 12.00. You had some experience with this number. I think in the first couple units, you did some calculations. That's called the average atomic mass. Now, this is where things got a little bit interesting. And that is this number right here, it did not show. It did not show unit. Why? Well, it turns out that there are two meanings behind this very number. Well, one meaning, it's what you had done already. It's the atomic mass, okay, or the average atomic mass. And we use AMU, right? The definition of atomic mass is, well, mass of an atom, singular. Okay, all right. Now, little more insights of the unit of AMU. Why did we come up with the unit of AMU? This is totally artificial. We use AMU because we know an atom, it's super tiny. If we use grams, it's going to be like a very tiny little number, like 0 point, like a bunch of zeros. It's difficult to communicate, so we'd say, hey, let's go ahead and use a little different unit. That's called AMU. Same thing with our speed limit, or speed in general. Can we use centimeters per hour? Yes, we could. Is it convenient? Heck no. So we'd say, well, to use a number that it's more convenient, we use miles per hour in the US, and other countries, they use kilometers per hour, but they don't use inches per hour, millimeters per hour. That's just too complicated to communicate. So that's the first meaning, atomic mass. We did it already. Now, the focus of today is to understand the new meaning of this very number. It's called molar mass. Now, just to share you a little embarrassing story. Now, when I was in high school, I proclaimed that I love chemistry, but the word molar, the meaning of the word molar did not hit me until like a few years later. Why is there a word called molar? Well, to explain this, let me give you a couple more things. In our human language, we use words like pair, words like dozen, words like quarter, right? What do they represent? Numbers, right? We know pair stands for 2. We know dozen stands for 12. We know quarter stands for 1/4, right? So what I want to prepare you for this totally psychological operation is that I want you to understand that these words right here, they are basically our words for the name of a group. And for each group, there is an associated quantity to go with a group. Okay, we don't want to say group generically, so we say, let's go ahead and give the group a name. Let's call a group of 2 a pair. Let's call a group of dozen 12. Let's call a group of a quarter, okay, like a game, like, oh, they have 4 quarters of a game. A quarter, 1/4. So now, our main character of today, or this lesson, it's going to be the word mole. Now, let me just go ahead and address the possible misconception in the room, and that is, do not think about the word mole as the animal mole. Okay, it's not the same thing. It's a group. It's a name of a group. Now, if you say, I don't like the word mole, and I would say, no problem. For the moment, you are more than welcome to use the word group for this mole. But I need you to have a very strong idea that it is a group. A group of how many? Well, look at this piece of paper. If I ask you a simple question, Well, would you like to estimate the number of atoms are in this piece of paper? How would you describe qualitatively about the amount of atoms in this paper, on this paper, or in this paper? A few, a lot, a lot. Okay? How would you describe the number of air molecules like O2 and CO2 in this room? A lot. So I hope it makes sense that this number, it's going to have 10 to the 23rd power. A lot, a lot. Okay? Now, a lot of people, they feel less comfortable because there's a number in front of the in part of the scientific notation. It is 6.022. Now, at this moment, I would say, don't worry too much about the number of 6.022. It's just a way we defined this group. Just like you did not question, why do we say 2 is a pair? You kind of just accepted the fact that, oh, okay, that makes it a lot easier. Oh, you have a pair of shoes. You wear a pair of socks because that's the pattern. Okay? All right, so group. It's called mole. And this group consists of how many individuals? 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay? So now, what about the word molar mass? Well, it turns out that the word molar comes from the word mole. And something blatantly obvious that I did not see it in front of my eyes for more than 2 years learning chemistry. Now, what about the unit? Well, let's talk about the meaning first, and then we'll talk about the unit. The meaning of molar mass is that it is the mass of a mole or a group of atoms, plural. So first thing is, can you see it means two things? The number right there, 12, it means two things at two very different scales. One is for a singular atom. The other one is for a group of many individual atoms. And because of this meaning, that it shall have a unit of grams per mole. I ask this question to my students a lot, which is from time to time I would ask the students, can you tell me the unit for molar mass? And a lot of students, they would just say grams. And if they just say grams, I know they do not understand molar mass. Because if you understand molar mass, you would not just say grams, you would say grams per mole. Okay? Just like, hey, we ask, you go to grocery shopping and say, oh, how much is the app? How much is the apple? Or how much are the apples? You'd say, oh, it's $2.50 per pound. You wouldn't say $2.50 because if you just say $2.50, $2.50, and I'll be like, per apple? Per pound? Per what? Can you hear the problem of not having per mole as the unit of molar mass? So my first task today is that, do you understand the very basic meaning of molar mass? Yes? Okay. All right. Now, if you're good, then we are going to move on to the next mental task.